Comic Boom.
Hey guys, Comic Boom here for another episode 2 of my Rave and Rant. So I'm going to get right to it. In comic book news, Tom King's run has apparently been extended. We're going to have more of Tom King beyond 103 issues. I just don't know if I can take this, guys. I mean, this is just absolutely insane. He's resorting to Twitter to explain his storylines because they're not making sense in the comic book themselves. My rant, and this is a rant, and I respect, I do respect people that are enjoying Tom King's run. I just don't know I don't know what they're seeing in it. I'm afraid I ascribe fully to the argument that has been repeatedly made by the guys at Weird Science. I follow them and I agree with them, the way they articulate themselves, sometimes not very poetically, about there's just no humanity at all in Tom King's Batman. He's completely devoid of humanity. That's why it's such an unenjoyable series. He doesn't act like a human being. He's a super Batman. He's a super god. He can walk 300 miles through Russian winter to take on the Russian assassin there. What the hell's his name? In any event, he's a super bat. He can overcome anything. He can do anything. But apparently when it comes to Bane, he turns to an idiot when it comes to Bane. He lacks any sort of detective skills. Tom King is a terrible writer in terms of evolving Batman. How is Batman intelligent? Tom King has not written Batman as intelligent, and he continues to be written like an idiot, and that's the sad part. And I don't really understand, even Flashpoint Batman is acting completely out of character from how he's established. Flashpoint Batman would never treat his son that way, not in a million years. Completely out of character for Flashpoint Batman. Now, and even the rest of the Batman family would never be stupid enough to think that Batman was completely off his rockers. They wouldn't. Batman might be an obsessed sociopath, but that's an exaggeration. They know he's obsessed. They just know he's a hard ass and that he gets too involved in his work, but they would never second guess him like that. And if they were to second guess him, they would look into it in far greater detail than they have. And they would certainly get a telepath in play, and they would certainly get the Justice League to look at it. Batman hasn't even gone to the Justice League about it. I mean, Tom King doesn't understand that Batman lives in a larger world. And every time somebody reminds him of him, I think somebody reminded Tom King that, oh, by the way, he's got other members in the Bat family. So guess what happens? Suddenly we get an issue with other members of the Bat family, and he's got to come up with a ridiculous way to get them off the playing field, which again doesn't make any sense. Writes them all out of character. It's just nonsense. But in any event, I'm going to stop talking about Tom King. It just upsets me. Another thing I want to talk about, and this is a rave. I want to talk about Naomi. Naomi number 5 has been really good. Brian Bendis and David F. Walker have been a really good job with Naomi. It's been a really good job. I want to give a rant and rave too. I want to give a rave to Immortal Hulk. Immortal Hulk continues to do really good. I want to give a rant about the speculator market. The speculator market. I always love and hate the speculator market. As a collector, what comic collector in his right mind doesn't love it when our comic books go up in value? Great. I'm not going to bitch, whine, and complain about that. That's fantastic. Whatever. But this nonsense, which, it's always nonsense when a comic book 2 or 3 weeks after being sold is worth $20, $30, $40, $50, $60. Absolute nonsense. It's not worth that. But it's one of the things that really significantly harms the industry in the long run. It keeps people out of the industry, and it really doesn't do it any favors. When if you have 20 to 30,000 issues of Naomi number 1 sold, anybody that tells you that it's worth $100 is insane. You're insane. And if you pay that, you need therapy. Genuinely need therapy. Because if you honestly can't find 5 or 6 people, at least, that would sell that to you for $5 to $10 tops, then there's something seriously wrong with the industry and really, really pathetic. And it's just terrible. We want to get people into the industry, not shut them out. And when you can't even get second or third printings of these things, without speculators even going wild on second and third printings. I mean, come on, guys. Like, take a step back and think and relax. And just, take a breather and let other people enjoy the comics. I mean, don't you have jobs? Seriously. I mean, what, you're going to go out and... You're going to make your money selling a second or third print? Christ, stay home from the comic shop 1 week and let the second and third printers just go. Especially with the Immortal Hulk. I mean, good grief. Like, I know it's a rant. It's a little bit of a rant. You know what? And I admit I'm a hypocrite. Because I'll go and I'll buy a second or third print every now and then. But this speculation boom on Immortal Hulk in particular really shows the weaknesses of the comic book industry at its weakest. Now you can say, well, it's very strong too, because give speculators yours. I'm a speculator. What am I bitching about? I should love speculation. This is great. Yeah, I don't mind speculation. But let me tell you where speculation really matters. It matters in the long term, not the short term. In the short term, it's about screwing over the people that are really, really desperate and want to get their hands off it. And it's screwing you over. It's screwing you over. Good Lord, man. Us guys that are in the comic shops every week, to turn around, I could not in good conscience sell my Naomi #1 for $100 to some kid who wanted it. Number one, I'd probably give it to him. And frankly, most of my comic collectors that I know are nice people. They would probably do the same thing. This nonsense of $100, absolute crazy. It's insanity. I don't know. I don't. No one's buying that. Where I've never actually met a person as stupid as eBay would suggest exists, but apparently they exist. But I don't know. That would be like I think that's like trying to find a needle in a haystack to find somebody that's stupid. But maybe it's possible. But in any event. Going on, another thing I want to talk about is Marvel had a retail summit this past weekend, and they talked about House of 10, Power of 10 by Hickman. Absolute Carnage is coming out by Donny Cates. Now, Marvel Comics is apparently, after Marvel Comics 1000, Marvel Comics is going to come out with 1001. Marvel Comics 1001. I mean, Marvel Comics is arrogant enough to think that they earned a Marvel Comics 1000. They're going to continue it with Marvel Comics 1001. Absolutely unbelievable. On principle alone, I'm not supporting it. I'm not supporting it. On principle alone. It makes me sick. I'm repulsed by it. I'm not going to buy it. If it's free, and I mean free, I'll buy it. But what are the odds of my retailer, who's even a friend of mine, what's the odd of me getting that free? They're going to put a $9.99 price tag on, or whatever, $7.99, whatever it is, and they're going to undersell it to retailers, and retailers then are going to sell it at regular price. You're going to get some that might put a discount on it. But believe it or not, most retailers in most parts of the country are not going to give it away for free because they need to make money. And what? One of my biggest pet peeves is what do a lot of bad comics have in common? They've got too many writers and too many artists in the same comic book. This one has 80. Each individual page is something different. This does not appeal to me at all. But hey, could I be proven wrong? Oh, of course I could be proven wrong. I'm not a Sith. This is a rant and a rave. Right now I'm ranting. And I'm not a Sith. Only a Sith, in the immortal words of Obi-Wan Kenobi, only a Sith thinks in absolutes. So never say never. No, it might happen, but I doubt it. All right, so now the far more exciting news is what's happening at the DC Retail Summit this past weekend. They were promoting their Young Reader line, but also their three big events. And their three big events are the Batman Who Laughs has been extended to issue 7, which is going to be leading into Batman and Superman, which is fantastic. Because we know in the events of Batman, we know that the Batman Who Laughs has sleeper agents that have been infected by the toxin that the Batman Who Laughs has created to make the persons who are infected with this toxin become their darkest selves, to explore their darkest desires and become their darkest selves. And he's got sleeper agents all over the DC universe. And that's what the Batman Superman series that's going to be written by Joshua Williamson is going to be addressing. Now, right now, Joshua Williamson is writing Flash Year 1. I really enjoyed the first issue. I've managed to read a solicitor copy of the second issue, and unfortunately, it's right back to Joshua Williamson's own old tricks in terms of his, or rather, old lack of tricks in terms of his writing. Very derivative, very disappointing. But you'll get my review of Flash Rebirth issue 2 of, or I guess it's issue 72, I guess. It's part 2 of Flash Year 1, the Flash Year 1. Disappointing, derivative, slow. And since it has the turtle in it, I suppose we could expect that. But in any event, the first event is The Batman Who Laughs. That's going to be extended 1 issue to 7 issues, leading into Batman Superman. Second is The Year of the Villain. Now, The Year of the Villain is The Year of the Villain is more of a theme. It's not an event. And the theme, of course, is that Lex Luthor, powered by Perpetua, powered by the power of Doom itself, embodied by Perpetua, the creature that, or the powerful entity that was released when the Source Wall was destroyed, and that Lex Luthor, through the Legion of Doom, resurrected Perpetua. Perpetua powers up Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor has sold all his resources, and he's powering up all the villains. He's giving every villain in the DC universe a power boost. And what's going to happen is that this is going to filter through July, August, and September, and into October. July is going to be the offer. In each individual issue of the DC Universe, each individual title is going to be subtitled The Offer, where the villains in the various titles are going to be made an offer by Lex Luthor to power them up. And then in August, it's going to be The Dark Gifts. And this is where the heroes, or where the villains, use their dark gifts to try to, they begin to explore and use their dark gifts that have been gifted to them by Lex Luthor because they accept Luthor's offer. And then in September, it's going to be Evil Unleashed, where they really attack all the heroes. And then in October, it's going to be the event in October. It's going to be Doom Rising. And it's going to be interesting because the logos for Doom Rising and Evil Unleashed, the logos in all the superhero titles are going to be smashed and caved in, and because to thematically reflect that the villains are winning. So that's interesting. Now, all this doesn't mean anything if the stories are terrible. So, and that's the only downside to all this, is that this has to inspire good stories. And I'm a little bit of a pessimist, I gotta admit. I'm a pessimist in this regard, because this event is only as good as the writers writing it. And so far, the vast majority of comic books in the DC Universe have been disappointments. The only ones that have been really good have been Detective Comics with Tomasi, The Batman Who Laughs under Snyder, Teen Titans with Adam Glass, and that's really it. Is there another one that's any good? Naomi's been not bad. Those are the ones that really sort of stand out to me. The rest are a little bit mediocre. Maybe with Catwoman. Catwoman's been disappointing under Joelle Jones, but maybe with one of Catwoman's villains, I don't know who that would be. Maybe her sister Maggie could be powered up a little bit by Lex Luthor, and she could become Sister Zero again and make that more interesting. That really needs to get more interesting, Catwoman. But Action Comics Action Comics and Superman, all his villains being powered up, I guess would be helpful. But that's the event Leviathan, and the event Leviathan is actually the next event, or that's the next event. It's The Batman Who Laughs, You're the Villain, and then Event Leviathan. Now, Event Leviathan is the third big move that was mentioned at the DC Retailer Summit, and the Event Leviathan basically has to do with it's been planned for quite a while, but it's just basically Bendis, the DC Universe, cleaning up their intelligence agencies. So all the list of their intelligence agencies, which consist of Spiral, Task Force X, Argus, Checkmate, Suicide Squad, the DEO. All these intelligence organizations are taken out in one full sweep. That's already began already. And who is? So the question is, who is Leviathan, and how did Leviathan pull this off? And It's gonna be a story centered around Batman, the Question, Lois Lane, and Manhunter, and all these sort of arguably lesser known characters a little bit are going to be sort of doing some detective work. Bendis mentioned that this was very specifically crafted. For Alex Maleev's art. Alex Maleev was his artist for Jessica Jones and for Daredevil, and so there's a very specific kind of artistic sensibility and storytelling that Alex Maleev and Bendis tell, and it is probably ideally suited for sort of a crime noir sort of storytelling that Event Leviathan is meant to embody. I don't know if it really works well for Superman. I think one of the reasons why they made Event Leviathan returnable, because DC is really they're promoting this to retailers by saying it's returnable. DC is making a lot of their issues returnable, specifically Superman Year One, the Lois Lane series, Event Leviathan, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen is another 12-issue series, the Doom Patrol series, Weight of the Worlds, Collapser, a series called Collapser, I don't know what that's about, the Batman Superman series. All these are going to be returnable. Now, returnability is huge. This is DC showing a lot of faith in their product, and they're showing a lot of faith in retailers. They're saying to retailers, look guys, we trust us when we tell you that we think you're really going to like this stuff, or you're going to like these series. We got our best of the best on this. You know, whatever you order high, please order high. Whatever you don't sell, you can return to us. That's basically what they're saying. I think that the exact criteria is that if they order at least what they ordered for Batman Who Laughs #1, that they can, if they initially order that, then they can return any excess that they don't sell. So that's a pretty good deal for most of the DC, for retailers, and you can bet that they're going to take them up on that. I think that Event Leviathan does need a little bit of a boost. It's going to need a little bit of a boost because it's not something that, even though I like the idea of Event Leviathan, you know, I think it's a storyline that I think would, in theory, works well because I like that sort of crime noir detective stories. But so far, it's not been written very well. It hasn't been particularly intriguing. It's been very poorly structured. It's been sporadic. It's been a narrative mess. The dialogue's been really bad. It's been all over the place. It's been jumbled. It hasn't fit together well at all. Superman's not fitting well into action at all. Even the way Bendis is working the whole Rogol Zar storyline, it's been an atrocious mess, and it's really, really disjointed, and it just is not flowing well. It's not working well. It's hard for me to recommend that people pick up this series because it's just not working. Although I will say this, the preview sneak preview for Event Leviathan Special shows Clark Kent, Superman, approaching Lois Lane, telling him that he can see that there are special agents, or what he considers to be, well, a SWAT team in his team to kidnap Clark Kent. And basically Superman lets Clark Kent be kidnapped by Talia al Ghul. And I suspect it's because Talia al Ghul is wondering who's wiping out all the intelligence agencies, because Talia al Ghul is actually leader of Leviathan in the pages of Silencer. But that's too obvious. That's obvious misdirection. It's not. We all seriously doubt that Talia al Ghul is actually the leader of Leviathan. So it's somebody else. So it's an obvious thing to put into play. But it showed a great sequence of Clark Kent sort of pretending and acting like a victim, and the preview itself seemed a little bit off. Again, I think it displays Bendis' lack of understanding of Superman in particular. Superman is the greatest actor on the planet. I mean, Lois Lane actually says to Superman in this preview that he's not a good actor because he doesn't know how to lie very well. I mean, this coming from a woman who is so galactically stupid. She went for years, I think almost a decade in DC time, and still never figured out that Clark Kent was Superman. She's an idiot. And for her to actually think that that Superman is not a good actor? Hello? Like, just, it's absolute nonsense. Superman is not only a phenomenal actor, he can fool anybody. I believe he can fool Batman. He can change his posture, he can change his heartbeat, he can change his appearance, he can do all that, and he did that, and he easily fooled Lois Lane. Again, the most galactically stupid woman in the DC universe. And this is key here, because I want to get into a little bit of a rant here. Now, Greg Rucka is going to be writing the Lois Lane series, and I respect Greg Rucka, but he's got his work cut out for him, because Bendis has made Lois Lane unquestionably one of the dumbest characters in the DC universe so far. She's really dumb. And she's a bitch. I mean, let's not forget how she disrespected her husband, not telling him when he was back, not telling him what was really going on in space when she was with her son. John Kent comes back, doesn't even bother telling her husband that she's back. The disrespect that she shows him, the way that she wants to just have I guess a marriage or a quasi-marriage. They're not really together, so they're kind of broke up. So the world at large, I think. See, Bendis isn't clear on this. This is either bad writing, or if I am right on what Bendis is writing, then it is really bad writing. And if I am wrong about what Bendis is writing, then it's still bad writing because Bendis isn't clear on what he's writing. See the slope there? It's like being in a round room and trying to find a corner to piss in. You can't find a corner because you're in a round room. It's like you're chasing rainbows. That's what it is, trying to make sense of what Bendis is stating. So Bendis has these odd ways of interpreting what he's writing. And again, him and King have one thing in common. I guess what a lot of bad writers have in common. They got to go and tell people in interviews what is actually going on because it's not obvious in the actual comic book. He actually thinks Bendis actually made the comment in a Word Balloon podcast that with John Citrus that he believes that, you know, everyone has this eccentric grandpa in their family. Yeah, everyone, you know, I mean, Jor-El is perfectly understandable that John would feel this way about his grandpa. I mean, you know, grandpa's just a little bit, you know, loopy. We all have that in our family, right? It's like, I know I don't. I don't have a psychotic grandfather in my family. Good grief. He certainly doesn't have superpowers, but anyways, I digress. Point being is that with Superman here, with Superman, with Lois, the way Lois is treating Clark is just reprehensible. And so far, she hasn't come across as particularly intelligent. Now, Bendis will deliberately write her. You can see it in the dialogue. He's trying to write Clark as sort of, you know, giving Lois these compliments all the time. You know what I mean? It's sort of like when you humor somebody. It's like you don't want them to feel bad, so you humor them, so you tell them what they need to hear. And that's when I read Bendis' dialogue where Clark is, you know, talking about Lois being so smart and this, and it's just, I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. And hopefully Rucka will create some semblance of intelligence for Lois Lane, like genuine intelligence, and let's see her actually be intelligent. And hopefully Tom King will do that for Batman. At some point, Tom King, you have to make your Batman not be an idiot. But I think that's too late because you're already 71 issues in. You don't know what you're doing. But in any event, that's a rant, but it is what it is. Couple other things here. On the DC Retailer Summit, it's very interesting that there was no mention made of Doomsday Clock at the summit, but there was a teaser of an image that says nothing ever ends. And it was in the Doomsday Clock lettering style. Nothing ever ends. Now, if nothing ever ends, then is that a dig on the delays with Doomsday Clock, meaning that nothing ever ends? Or is it going to be leading into something else? We don't know. They never made any comments, but again, that's sort of a teaser image. Nothing ever ends in Doomsday lettering, Doomsday Clock lettering. So that's interesting. Also, a rumor mill at the bars at the DC Summit, where all the creators go and get drunk, which is where all the best stuff comes out and all the rumors are told to Bleeding Cool Rich Johnson. Apparently Wally West, the rumored Wally West Suicide Squad series, where Wally West maybe tries to redeem himself by joining the Suicide Squad. Apparently there might be a series before that. So rumor has it Wally West is not dead. He's going to be coming back. And if Wally West comes back, he might even have his own series. Or he might have his own mini-series leading into us, Wally West joining the Suicide Squad thing. We don't know. All that's rumor, but we'll have to see how that plays out. I just want Wally West back. If he's got to come back as a member of the Suicide Squad, so be it. I want some type of redemption for him after the abortion called Heroes in Crisis. We'll have to wait and see. Incidentally, May 29th this month, Doomsday Clock number 10 is still slated to come out May 29th. Doomsday Clock number 10, guys. Mark that in your calendar. Pick up that issue. It's going to be It's going to apparently give more information, more specific information on Dr. Manhattan's connection to the DC universe. Now, a couple other things. A little bit of a speculation rant here. Naomi number 5 was apparently damaged. Now I look. Apparently there is a... Check your issue. If those of you guys that picked up Naomi number 5, check to see what condition your comic's in. Because apparently a lot of the comics were apparently damaged. And I'm looking at my Naomi number 5. And I don't know. Mine's in perfect condition. I got... Nothing is off at all. I mean, people were complaining. Apparently some people got some misprints with the pages folded over or what have you. I don't know. I don't know. Mine was fantastic. It's great. I love it. I also want to give a shout out to Rave to this cover for Action Comics. I love these covers where they show things on billboards because I always take my Comic Boom logo and I get to... It's so easy to put myself in on these pictures when I do my thumbnails. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's just great to do. Great stuff. Now, I also want to give a shout out to Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner again. Painkiller Jane, which is a great series. They've got a Kickstarter campaign where they're doing another hardcover for Painkiller Jane. I think it's already funded, and I'm looking forward. I got my hardcover coming. I got the Purian Fanboy limited edition print. There's only 150 of them that are going to be made with a special sort of Purian Fanboy nude cover, hardcover drawn by Amanda Conner. I mean, I love Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner. They're such a fantastic creative team, and it's nice when they can let loose a little bit and explore the darker side and the more Purian fanboy things of all the fans like me. I mean, hey, it's good stuff, and I'm definitely going to be reviewing that. I'm going to be doing a review once I receive that Painkiller Jane hardcover. And here are just a couple of shout outs here to Event Comics back in the day when Jimmy Palmiotti was with Joe Quesada, and they were doing their back in the Ash days. Also, I want to give a shout out to this particular comic. Remember this? I've always wanted to show something here. This is one thing I got hanging up in my wall. This is an old Flash comic. This thing is in terrible condition. I think this is probably a 3.0 condition. 3.0, maybe a 2.5 condition, but the cover is okay, so maybe it's a little bit better. And this is a more modern day version of the thing that was done of the comic cover was done for DC Comics Presents back in October of 2004. And this one was written, I believe, by Dennis O'Neil and Loeb and Mankey and McGinnis and Farmer and Vines. But anyways, great stuff. Look at that, eh? It's nice to have these classic covers. You pick them up, especially when you get I always like getting when older comics, if you can get good covers, even if the interior is destroyed, just to get the cover itself is pretty cool. Although I do have the whole interior on that. And yeah, I did manage to pick up the third Flash race as well. That's in the background here. I was glad about that. And I did manage to pick up the first appearance of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. Got a hell of a deal on this. I love it. And guys, that is my rant and my raving for this week. I picked up this Jim Lee shirt. This was in a clearance bin for $4.74. This is the new 52 Superman because he's got that gay little freaking collar, which is stupid, but I figure this is a nice rag that I can wear for something like this on a rant and a rave. And I got the Suicide Squad cap. It's really good. Also, I want to give a shout out to one other thing here, another rave. Robert Venditti's 6 Days. I'm probably going to be doing this. This is the incredible story of D-Day's lost chapter. and it's the military called it Operation Overlord. The world would come to know it as D-Day, and for the paratroopers of the U.S. 82nd Airborne Division, the moment they'd been waiting for, the Allied invasion of Normandy and the final push to free Europe from Nazi control had arrived. And then everything went wrong, and basically these involved soldiers that were dropped a full 15 miles wide of their intended target, and they were stranded deep behind enemy lines. A small group of Americans had only one choice: to rely on the help of the people of Gagny, the village where they'd been forced to make their stand. And basically they're working with French citizens to try to basically survive D-Day, essentially. And it's fantastic. It's just really good. It's a true story. And Robert Venditti, apparently, I guess his grandfather was part of this. Was a member of the crew, and that involved this. So he's got a very personal stake in this, and so it's quite good. So it's a part of the rave. I'm giving a shout out to 6 Days. Check it out. All right, guys. Okay, that's for 37 minutes long. I'm gonna give this thing. I'm done now. I will let you guys go. That is the end of my Rant and Rave, episode 2. And until next time, Comic Boom out.